You mentioned in your opening remarks that the original bill that was passed by the Board of Aldermen had inherent conflicts of interest. I'm wondering if you could speak to that, the original bill, whether you signed it, and what those conflicts of interest were that were rectified.
Right. The original bill was passed under a different president. I will acknowledge that. But it required aldermen to supply a letter for every business that was going to be considered for the grant program. And that could have slowed grant awarding down significantly if they weren't able to get in contact with their particular alderperson, but also could be open to conflicts of interest and I'm not accusing anyone on this floor of doing that, but that alders could pick favorites to who would get a grant and who would not, who would get a letter and who would not get a letter.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. So the letter situation was the rectifying that was done between the original bill and the second bill. Were there any other, did you sign that original bill? Were there?
I probably did.
Probably did, okay. One of the issues, I mean, you talked a lot about how important and how transformative these funds could and should be for the north side of St. Louis. I agree entirely. I think I've been probably boring my colleagues with the statistics on population loss that we've seen over the last couple of years, last several decades, but it's been especially alarming in the last couple of years where we have seen population numbers, particularly Black St. Louis, plummeting. The population loss in our city has been around 2.5% per year over the last couple of years, but in the Black population, about 4.5% for the last couple of years, according to the latest census numbers. And I think it's imperative, as you point out, that we invest in communities to rectify the massive amounts of disinvestment in our community, but it's especially important in North St. Louis. We have to do that with trust. We have to be building trust. And my question is, you know, with this process, what is the role of the Board of Aldermen vetting these and some confusing and conflicting information in the media as it relates to the roles and responsibilities of the SLDC board, the Board of Aldermen? We at the board here put together a funding package for SLDC, but I'd like, in your words, to describe what our role at the Board of Aldermen and the SLDC's board is in vetting these businesses, what our specific role is, and making sure that we're building trust.
Well, I don't believe that the Board of Aldermen has a role in vetting these businesses. It is up to SLDC, as that program was given to SLDC to devise and to implement. The Board of Aldermen also doesn't approve contracts, but you, however, do sit on the SLDC board as a result of your chairwomanship, and so it's your responsibility as a member of the SLDC board to help vet these companies as well. You can ask SLDC at any time for applications or more information, which I know you have done, and Neil Richardson has responded to you, but it is not up to the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen legislates, passes legislation, and then it's up to the administration to then implement that legislation and develop the criteria for judging these applications and vetting the businesses therein.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So is it your contention or your assertion or direction that the board of the SLDC board members should be involved in the vetting process of these businesses?
If they choose to be, yes.
Is it their responsibility? Whose responsibility is it to vet these?
It is SLDC's responsibility to vet the business.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you mean the board or the staff of SLDC? This is very important because I do sit on the board. We meet 2 hours a month, essentially, board members. And it is imperative to understand where the buck stops. Is it the responsibility of board members to be going through and driving up to the vacant buildings and understanding whether or not these are functioning businesses, or is it the SLDC staff? That's my question. It
is the responsibility, again, of the SLDC staff through processes that they have outlined to vet the businesses for this program. And if the board chooses to, if you as a board member choose to, then you can do so, or you can vote present, or you can turn your camera off when it's time for the vote.
Excuse me, I did not turn my camera off. I have an AT&T cell phone service or internet provider, and I have been very clear that the AT&T service that I subscribe to and pay for was cut off during that time, and that's a situation that I could not prevent or even address at the time, but I did vote. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate you at least outlining, where the responsibility was, because I have to say, as a board member of SLDC, and even as a member of the Board of Aldermen, at the end of the day, it's our role really to drive where these funds go, but we cannot be in the business of vetting these things. We have to be able to trust our staff and the millions of dollars we put into the administrative effort of delivering these funds. This has to be done by professional staff. It cannot be done by board members, and that's just at the end of the day. There's just no time. There's no to pass the buck onto SLDC board members. I think it's really going to put us in a very
No one's passing the buck to SLDC board members. I said if you choose to, then you can vet the application. But SLDC staff are very professional, and they have outlined a process and rubrics and grading sheets to vet every business, to grade every business in this program. Now, as a board member, if you choose to ask for more information, then that is your prerogative.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have done that. I've sent a pretty lengthy set of questions to the SLDC staff. I do appreciate you coming down here. Madam President, thank you for the opportunity to ask questions. And I do, even with these questions, Madam Mayor, I commend you for coming down this morning and for answering questions of the Board of Aldermen. This is a very important project. These are large amounts of funds, and it is imperative that we get it right. That we not only invest these in a way that can transform North St. Louis, but that builds trust in city government, badly needed trust that has been badly harmed by many years, but certainly by what's been in the media related to this project.